Do they think to themselves, well, this is the logic triumphs at Google, this is the logical course to take? Is that a flaw for them?
There's a myopia to a certain degree about that. I don't want to take that too far because there's this meme that engineers are robotic, and I have to say, from the time I did Hackers, and it was my first book 21 years ago, it sort of flew in the face of that. The people that I know who are the really creative engineers, they're not robotic. They're very creative. And a lot of them are musicians, and they read, they appreciate literature, maybe science fiction, but they're literate people.
That counts.
And you go to the Google campus, there's all sorts of authors and fascinating people coming, and you have great discussions about anything there. So I don't really want to take too far that stereotype, but it is true that Google operates on the premise, and actually it's a pretty interesting premise, and maybe one that we could use more of in society, that decisions should be made by data instead of preconceptions or who has the force of personality to drive something across there. So in something like the book search, Google felt it had the data that people would embrace that and as good for civilization. And Larry and Sergey couldn't figure out why people were against that. Even something like Gmail. When Gmail came out, a lot of people recoiled at the idea of ads appearing alongside your email content that were related to what it was. The word was creepy. There was a CNET column which used that word creepy. And that really caught on there. And even Google felt that once it was explained to people, they would realize that Google really wasn't reading your mail. It was just these algorithms that interpret it, and people then would say, oh, algorithms, that's okay. But, but in fact, in a visceral way, it was creepy, and it really opened Google to all sorts of questions there.
And they were dumbfounded. They seemed genuinely shocked that people found it creepy, much like they did when they introduced Buzz.
Right. Well, yeah, Buzz did have a flaw. We could talk about that. That blindsided them because they hadn't anticipated what would happen when it got outside Google there. But this idea that logic wins the day gets them, has gotten them in trouble there. And in the same way, really, that I refer to this later in the book, the day that Obama came to Google as a candidate and explained how he was going to get health care through really easily by just presenting the data of why it's going to work, the people at Google were in ecstasies. This guy is one of us. It's going to work that way. And it didn't work all that easily for Obama, the same way that approach doesn't work easily for Google. People voluntarily give Facebook this information. Who their friends are, what they like, where they are, what they're doing, and this is very, very valuable information. And 600 million people doing this, and soon it'll be 1 billion, right? In a way where Google doesn't have that access to information is a nightmare for Google. Google could use that information to deliver better results and be useful to us in a number of ways. Google is less useful without having that information. So I think that the ultimate goal of their social initiative is not so much to kill Facebook. That's something that Google's not going to do, but to bring Facebook to the table where they could share information. Maybe Google would be able to get its own information that it could share with Facebook. And when I say share with Facebook, it's like not without our permission, just so, since it's our information to begin with, I think it's fair all around that we can take that information. I could take my Facebook information and say, hey, here's a Google product I want to use. Can I use my friends to go in this Google social product? Can I use my location to merge it with Google Latitude, and vice versa? I don't think it's right that Facebook cordons off the information that I give it, and I don't think it's right that Google would stop me from sharing my information. Now, Google says they have a policy of saying we don't do that. And they have a thing at Google called the Data Liberation Front, where a team works on making that information exportable. And I think Google does a better job at that than Facebook does.